Minasan, konbanwa. Ah, this is part two. I've returned. I've had a look at part one, having now split it off, and whew, that got to be longer than I thought it was going to be. I felt as I was going through it that it was going to be about a half an hour, and at the end, I was like, maybe that was a little over half of an hour, but no, it looks like that was about an hour. Oh my. Well, 本当にお疲れ様ですよ. You are really, really 真面目 if you've been following along this far, but I hope that was a little helpful. Part two, like I said, part one is going to be the longest. This is part two. We're going to cover a different grammar point. And let me pull the materials back up. Oh yeah, konbanwa, because in the intervening time I have had some tea and I have breathed, and it is now probably konbanwa toki. So we are going to get started on part two here. Section 第2課, we're going over 動詞用にする and 動詞用にしている. So this isn't really a case where these are different grammar points like really the first section. There aren't different grammar points either. I just put 用にする and 用にしている for the visual consistency of having like two things there. Daisanka will also have two things, but they're actually a little more different. This case, I just did it so that it looks the same. Okay, so let's talk about using a verb yo ni suru. This is a lot simpler in the amount of possible uses compared to what we were just covering of the various yo na, yo ni things. But what we have in the simplest possible explanation, like I did last time, we'll start with a very simple explanation that you might see in a textbook or somewhere online. It just means making an effort to do the verb. So I've written a sentence here. 私は体にいい食品を食べるようにします. I will make an effort to eat foods or 食品, the food goods that are good for me, that are 体にいい. And this 食べるようにする is that make an effort to do structure. So you see, we just run the verb as is, dictionary form into 食べるよ, and then ようにする makes this structure. And this is often going to appear paired with some kind of time expression, some indicator of a time frame or frequency, and maybe not frequency, I don't think so, but often with when we're doing something or for how long we're doing something or from when. So here I've taken the same sentence, 私は来年体に食品を食べるようにします. This is something probably we've all said time and again even, but next year I will make an effort to do this. Yes. Next year I will do it. I will make an effort starting next year, starting tomorrow, right? Let's see. So our verb here, it should not appear in the past tense. I'm going to go over just like I did with the different parts of speech we can use with the section one structure. I'm going to go over a little bit in different tenses we can use here. We should really not be putting the verb in our doshi before yonisuru into the past tense because it just doesn't make sense. And I've written in English, make an effort to did, because that would be the best way to translate that. And it illustrates why that doesn't really sound right. It just is, it's weird. But there's no reason that the sudo after yoni can't be past tense. It totally could be. And it's just used to express the past tense in the same way we always do. So I've written some sentences for you here. Uh, Let me read this to you. 妹の去年の誕生日に私は妹を泣かしてしまいました。それ以来、妹と仲良くするようにしています. On my little sister's birthday last year, I ended up making her cry. The ended up is just me translating the teishimao that I've regrettably done it. I ended up making her cry, and I don't feel good about it. Ever since それ以来, I have been making an effort to get along with her. So to get along with my little sister, that's imoto to nakayoku suru, get along with my little sister. Then we go suru yo ni suru, make an effort to do. And then instead of just yo ni suru, we've been making the effort. We're in the ongoing state of making that effort. So we say yo ni shiteimasu. Ever since then, I have been making a continuous and ongoing effort to get along with her. Excuse me. So I've broken this down in a little more detail here. Just breaking up the different parts of the sentence. So in red here, imoto no kyonen no tanjoubi ni, my little sister's birthday last year. I mean, literally, it's her her birthday of last year. I could just say like kyonen imoto no tanjoubi ni, but it feels more specific that it's particularly her birthday of last year than just last year on her birthday. I don't know. That's not important. I ended up making her cry, ended up as Arteshimao. I regrettably made her cry. And then Imoto nakaseru from naku. So we have the causative form. I made her cry. Nakasete shimaimashita. I regrettably caused her to cry. Soreirai from then on, I think I should put, did I translate that as? Yeah, that should probably be ever since. It's a lot more appropriate. Ever since Soreirai Imoto to with her. I've put that in purple just to keep it separate from our grammar structure here, but nakayoku suru. This is our verb. This is just a regular old suru verb to get along, to have like a good friendly relationship. Nakayoku suru yo ni shiteimasu. I have been making an effort. Again, that should probably be have been making an effort, not I made an effort. Yeah, I guess I didn't update the sentence in this slide when I adjusted it a little, but that should really be making an effort to get along with her. And let's go ahead and look at some more cases of how we could use yoni suru or things we could do. And the verb before yoni suru, it can't really be past, can't is strong. I guess it's possible I just don't know of a case where it could. It really probably shouldn't be past tense, but it can absolutely be negative. We can make an effort to not do something. That's exactly what this means. So I've got an example here. Keisa, 日本人のクラスメイトをあんたと呼んで、彼に怒られちゃった。これからそんな呼び方を使わないようにします。This morning, I called my Japanese classmate Anta, or I called him by Anta, or he got mad at me. He got mad at me. I'm not happy about it. 彼に怒られちゃった. I was regrettably gotten mad at by him. We have this complaining kind of passive form here. これから from here on, and this is one of those time expressions that I said is commonly used with this grammar structure. So from here on, or, それ以来, ever since, or on a specific day, or these kinds of things often appear alongside yo ni suru to express when we're going to do it. From here on, これから, I will make an effort to not use that. Okay, this is a lit more of a literal translation. To not use that kind of way of calling him. So it sounds a little awkward in the translation, but let me break it down for you. これから from here on, and then we have そんな呼び方. That kind of そんな呼び方, way of calling. を使わない to not use. So we could just say そんな呼び方を使わない to not use that way of calling someone, which in this case is あんた. You can imagine, as I've experienced in my own life, sometimes you're coming to grips with the peculiarities of when and when not to use your pronouns and what feels like a friendly, casual breach of formality and what feels like a personal attack when you do these things. So I used the way of calling, そんな呼び方, that kind of way of calling him. 使わない, I'll make an effort to not use it. So, 呼び方を使わないようにします. That's where we get to make an effort. So, 使わないようにします on its own means make an effort to not use. Make an effort to not use what? That way of calling him from now on. And that way, of course, is anta from earlier. Let's look at, yes, this. So we can absolutely make our verb, our doshi before yoni suru negative. We should remember what this means. It is making an effort to not do something. We are striving and endeavoring to not do something. We should not confuse this with meaning that we aren't making an effort to do something. That would be expressed with a completely different grammar structure that I'm not really going over here. But I guess if you want to look it up, I would say probably like volitional to suru or toshinai if you're not making an effort. So would be the way to do it. So I don't know. This is not making an effort. If you want to look it up on your own, go ahead. But we are talking about making an effort to not do something. And with verb yo ni suru, we're always making an effort to do something. So even if we make that verb negative, the effort we are making is to not do the verb, which honestly is a something you would use a lot, I think. I think it's a very easy thing to apply to your life is when we make an effort to not do something. Honestly, it's probably easier to think of something you're making an effort to not do than to think of something you're making an effort to do. Let's see. Let's keep moving here. Yeah, so like I said, this is not especially different from what I've been going over already, but I just figure I might as well lay it out clearly. I think I already used steiru, yeah, back here, but as with so many ways, so many times we use steiru, we're just making an ongoing effort. We're in the process of it. We're in the state of being doing that. I exist doing that. I'm making this ongoing effort. But I think, yeah, put it here. Otherwise, that's not particularly different in meaning from yo ni suru, but I've got some sentences here that use it just to illustrate. 姉は大学に入ってから健康を大切にして毎日運動するようにしているそうです。I hear that, so that's そうです, way at the very end. そうです. I hear that. Since he entered college, that is 大学に入ってから my older brother, Ani, is taking great care with his health. So, 健康を大切にする, just to take care of or to like to cherish, to take good care of his health. 大切にして, 毎日, every day. Now here we get to the part we want to talk about. 毎日運動する, and oh, by the way, here is that time reference thing I mentioned. I guess frequency is something that's used here, but here we have that kind of time or frequency or temporal reference. We have 毎日運動するようにしている. He has been making, he is in the ongoing state of making an effort to exercise every day. So 運動する to exercise. ように, 運動するようにする to make an effort to exercise. Then we go ようにしている. He's in this continuing state of making an effort to exercise. And we have back here Mainichi. It's every day that he's doing that. I've got another one here. Yes. 最近、免職されてしまったんですが、毎日, okay, it's 毎日 again. I got lazy, I guess. 毎日落ち込まないようにしています. I don't know. I don't know how normal this sounds at all, but I just liked this. I liked this sentence a lot. I felt like I was having a good time writing this kind of stuff. I was recently fired, menshoku. I was debating using another expression, kubi ni suru, but menshoku. Probably better to get in the habit of using this to talk about it. I was recently fired, menshoku sarete shimattan. This guy, it's regrettable that I was fired. I'm unhappy about it. So we have teshimao, shimatta. This guy, but mainichi, every day, ochikomanai, to not be depressed. Ochikomu, to be down in the dumps, to be depressed. Ochikomanai. Yo ni shiteimasu. I am making an effort, yo ni shiteiru, every day, mainichi, to not get down in the dumps. Ochikomanai. Yo ni shiteimasu. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Again, I don't know if these are the most normal things to say in the world, but they do, I hope, illustrate the use of the grammar point pretty simply. Let's see. Let's keep going. Okay, cool. We're all ready to our kaiwa. You see, I told you this one was going to be so much shorter. The first one, there was so much more to go over because I wanted to really, really explore all the different applications of that. This one, I think there's less possible situations you can apply it to because it's got a more specific meaning. You only use it when you're talking about making an effort to do something. Whereas the section one grammar, you could use anytime you want to make a comparison to anything ever. So, of course, it's a little broad, right? Let me go ahead and read off our model conversation here. So I've gone ahead and highlighted in cyan the examples of the grammar point I'm talking about here, and I've highlighted in orange two cases where I'm using a different usage just because I don't want to trick you here. This isn't a test. I'm not trying to trip you up, so just be prepared. We have B-san from the first dialogue and the Shusho, the team captain that came up in that same dialogue. B-kun, 最近練習で頑張るようにしているね。それに気づいていいよ。正直に話せば B 君にもっと一緒に練習するように頼まれたら少しびっくりしたんだ。でも今、B 君はいつか素晴らしい選手になると思う。いいえ、そんなことはありません。首相。でも、これから私は一生懸命練習するようにしますよ。首相のおかげで。じゃあ、今日はここまで。少し早いんだけど、今学期俺は家で勉強するようにしたいんだから、それは大丈夫？あ、すいません。もう少し小さい頼みたいことがあるんですが、うん、どうぞ。首相はいつも後輩に手伝ってあげるようにしている人なので、私の A さんという友達に少しテニスを教えてもらえませんか？ B 君の友達なら、もちろん教えるよ。その人は B 君のように全力で頑張るようにするだろうね。そう、といいんですが。Let me just go through this with you now and just make sure we're all following this. But please, again, if you want, go ahead and pause and take a minute to read through it and see if you can follow everything here. But I will go over everything now. So our team captain says B. Recently, at practice, you've been making an effort to do your best. 頑張るようにしているね. You've been making an effort to do your best. それに気づいて, I noticed that. いいよ. And it's good. 正直に話せば, speaking honestly, B 君にもっと一緒に練習するように頼まれたら. So what we have here is the passive form of 頼む to request. So requested, ただ, this is like when I was requested, もっと一緒に練習するように頼まれたら. So this is a completely different usage of ように. So don't worry about that. But what this means is when I was requested by Bikun, that's Bikun ni, to practice together more, もっと一緒に練習する. And he says, 少しびっくりしたんだ. I was a little surprised. でも、今、B 君はいつか素晴らしい選手になると思う。But now, I think that you will one day become a wonderful tennis player. And B says, いいえ、そんなことはありません. He says, that's not the case. This is your stock, you're not accepting praise. You're saying, no, no, not really. You're being very, very kind, but not really. Uh, 首相. Oh, just 首相 at the end. でも、これから私は一生懸命練習するようにしますよ. From now on, I will 一生懸命, just another stock expression, a Yoji Jukugo, with all my strength, with all my vitality, with all my energy, I will make an effort to practice, と練習するようにしますよ. So B says, I'm not really trying all that hard, but from now on, I will try with all my strength to practice. And then he says, 首相のおかげで. Thanks to you. Thanks to a team captain. Shusho says, じゃあ、今日はここまで. That's it today. Today is up to here. We're done. And he says, 少し早いんだけど, it's a little early, but 今学期, this term, 俺は家で勉強するようにしたいんだから. But it's because, だから, this term, I want to, したい, make an effort to study at home. 家で勉強する is study at home, of course. するようにする would be make an effort to study at home. And then we have 家で勉強するようにしたい. I want to make an effort to study at home. So that する can be turned into other verb forms just as you would in any other context. So we can go from する to したい. And he says, それは大丈夫. Is that okay? B 君 says, すみません。もう少し小さい頼みたいことがあるんですが。Sorry. There's a little more of a small thing I wanted to ask you. Wanted to request of you. Tanomitai. I want to request koto. Something I want to request. And Shusho says, どうぞ. B says, 首相はいつも後輩に手伝ってあげるようにしている人. Team captain, you are a person who is always making an effort in the ongoing state of making an effort in yoni shiteiru to give help to your kohai. Nanode, because of that, since that, ano, we just have some hesitation. 私の A さんという友達に、uh, 私の A さんという友達に少しテニスを教えてもらえませんか? Could I get you? Could I not? Would it not be possible for me to receive you teaching tennis a little to my friend A? Or could you please teach my friend A little bit of tennis, right? And Sho says, Biku no tomodachi nara, if this person is your friend, if it's Bikun's friend, もちろん教えるよ. Of course I will teach them. その人は B 君のように全力で頑張るようにする. That person will, like B. Now this I've highlighted in orange because this is the one we covered last section. This was section 1, no yo. This is B 君のように. This is an adverb, like B. That person, その人は B 君のように全力で with all your strength 頑張るようにするだろうね. That person will probably だろう like you make an effort ようにする to do their best 頑張る with all their strength like you. It's a little much, but we're being very enthusiastic about how much energy and motivation and effort we're putting in. So we say 全力で頑張るようにする. Make an effort to do your best with all your strength. They probably will. That'll like B. And B says, so, 遠いんですか? Yes, I hope. All right, now I think all that's left for this section now is quiz. Like I said, much shorter than section 1. Section 1 was a doozy. Let's look at our quiz here. So, 下の返事の中から正しく verb 用にするを使っているのを選びなさい. From the below replies, that is replies to this quotation here, the one that correctly uses verb 用にする, please select. All right, so I'll go ahead and read these to you. We have Taiso here. That's, your light exercise and aerobics, and mainly you'll know this from like Radio Taiso, the radio exercise, right? 私は寝る前に体操をしよう. Oh, I should really read what we're replying to first, shouldn't I? Tomodachi says, 君は最近朝早くてもとっても元気だよ. どうやって? You are recently, even if it's early in the morning, you are very energetic. How? How are you doing that? And our reply options are, 私は寝る前に体操をしようとしているからかな。or 私は寝る前に体操をするようにしているからかな。私は寝る前に体操をしているようにするからかな。or 私は寝る前に体操をするようにしようからかな. And the correct answer here is the second one. These are starting to get into word salad territory, but hopefully you can piece together here that we're looking for the correct usage of the grammar structure, and only one of these is not either getting it confused with something else or putting in inappropriate parts of speech. Second one here, watashi wa neru mae ni, before I sleep, before I go to bed, taiso suru, to do light exercise, to do aerobics, to do stretching and gymnastics, o suru, yo ni suru, so taiso suru yo ni suru would be fine, but we have taiso suru yo ni shiteiru. I'm in the ongoing state. I've been making it a point continually to do kara because of that. Kana. I wonder if it's because I have been making an effort. I have been, so we go teiru, making an effort to do these exercises before I go to bed. Then we have another, oh, excuse me, another question here. もっと適切な訳文を選びなさい. So what is the, please choose the more appropriate translation, right? So our Japanese sentence is, 試験の前に緊張しないようにした方がいいですよ. So if you want, take a minute to stop, pause. I'm sure you've gotten used to doing that by now. Stop, pause, think about the answer. But which of these is the more appropriate translation? If you've had a minute to think, I'll go ahead and, oh, also, 考え方を説明しなさい. Please, just check for yourself that you understand why one of these is more appropriate than the other as well. And it is the first one here. Before an exam, you should make an effort to not be nervous. So this is a sentence that I've intentionally used a verb that translates a little weirdly into English. Kincho suru. It doesn't translate the most easily as a direct literal translation into English, specifically because I want to force you to think it through. You should make an effort to not be nervous. So, kincho shinai you ni. Make an effort to yoni suru. Make an effort to not be nervous, to not fret. Shita hogai. It's better if you do, or you should. This means we should make an effort to not be nervous. What it does not mean is you shouldn't make an effort to be nervous. Now, this is an almost nonsensical sentence in English too, but it's important that we recognize that, as I mentioned earlier, when we make our verb negative before yo ni suru, we are making an effort to not do something. We are not making an effort. And this hopefully illustrates why, if you envision it the other way, you get this completely garbled sentence that doesn't make much sense at all. Shouldn't make an effort to be nervous. So hopefully that illustrates that point well. And we have one more question. Once again, this is a little more on the, I guess the previous one was too, but this will be a little more conceptual, require a little more thinking on your part. But question is, 下の文を英語に翻訳しなさい. Please translate the below sentence into English. And before we show you the sentence, well, I guess you can see it. Before we deal with the sentence, the 状況, the situation is, この間、たけしさんは彼女の誕生日を忘れてしまいました。たけしさんは謝りたいんですが、彼女はほとんど無視しています。So our situation is, recently, この間、Takeshi regrettably forgot, 忘れてしまいました, his girlfriend's birthday. Takeshi は he wants to apologize. 謝りたいんですが、his girlfriend, 彼女は mostly, basically, pretty much, completely, ほとんど mushi suru is to ignore, right? Basically just ignoring him. Mushi shite imasu. His girlfriend's basically ignoring him. This is our Jokyo. Now, we have a sentence from the Kanojo to Takeshi, and I've written it out here in Nihongo, and it is 謝るようにするということはダメ。先週私の誕生日を忘れないようにすれば、謝りは必要じゃなかった。So once again, please take a minute, pause, and see if you can't think of a way to translate this. There's obviously plenty of different ways you could translate different parts of it in slightly different ways. I do have a translation I'm going to show you that I wrote, but there are going to be places where you could do it a little bit differently than me. The important thing is that we focus on the grammar point, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show what I have, which is, oh, I added yo. Oops. So girlfriend says, making an effort to apologize is pointless. If you had made an effort to not forget my birthday last week, an apology wouldn't have been needed. Now, aside from that probably really stinging, it hopefully will illustrate there's two usages of the yo ni suru in this sentence, and both ones in English are translated directly as making an effort, right? To try and make that very clear. So our first sentence here is 謝るようにするということはダメ. So I've kind of translated the ということ. So I could just say like 謝るようにすること, the thing of making an effort to apologize. But the ということ, which sometimes can mean all kinds of things. It's very broad. I've kind of translated it as, in this case, a sarcastic set of quotation marks, but it's, the thing you would call what you would say the effort of making, what am I saying? Making an effort to apologize is pointless. It is dame, right? And then our next sentence is 先週私の誕生日を忘れないようにすれば and that is if you had made an effort, we have our conditional if, our ba conditional. If you had made an effort, sureba, yo ni sureba, to not forget wasurenai. So wasurenai yo ni sureba is if you had made an effort to not forget tanjoubi o wasurenai, to not forget my birthday last week. And we have this well, I'll explain that after. 謝り, an apology は必要じゃなかったよ. An apology wouldn't have been needed. It would not have been 必要. And if you're not familiar with this use of ba, it's very useful, but sometimes I feel like I'm always getting it wrong. I don't know. But we have ba with a past tense verb in the clause following. It creates this kind of counterfactual if you had done or if this had happened, then it would have been this. So you might see like ba yokatta, like motto benkyou sureba yokatta. If I'd studied more, it would have been good. With that past tense yokatta instead of the present future, the non-past e. Here we have hitsuyo janakatta. If you had made an effort to not forget my birthday last week, an apology would not have been needed. So we have this kind of counterfactual assumption here. But the important part is just that we have wasurenai you ni suru or sureba, but suru, to make an effort to not forget. Just like at the beginning, we have ayamaru you ni suru, to make an effort to apologize. And yeah, I think that's everything for this section. Wow, that one went by a lot quicker. Hopefully, everything there was pretty easy to grasp. We will move on to Daisanka in just a bit here. I will split this up into a separate video once again. And again, please feel free to take a little break. I don't imagine that all the material will set in just one go. I mean, maybe go back and listen to some points from part one again if you need to go over them again. Heaven knows that I have had to go over grammar resources so many times before I actually understood what the heck I was supposed to take away from them. But we will move on to section 3 in just a bit here. It'll probably be similar length to this one, which I will get to see in just a moment here exactly how long that is. But we will be there soon. For now, I will just call this good.